Errol Musk is the 79-year-old patriarch of a peculiar dynasty which has viciously turned on him.
Elon Musk is the most powerful man alive. He owns the internet's town square, the future of space travel, the infrastructure of electric transport, and arguably the ear of the most powerful government on earth. But here's the thing almost nobody talks about. Elon Musk didn't come from nothing. He came from Errol Musk, and when you understand Errol, and I mean really understand him, the white supremacy, the apartheid nostalgia, the children with his own stepdaughter, the bodies he left in Johannesburg, something clicks into place about the son. So yes, I hate Errol Musk, but I also think you need to know exactly who he is, because the apple, as one journalist who spent a day with him put it, does not fall far from the tree. Errol Musk was born in Pretoria in 1946 into a South Africa already deep into the machinery of apartheid. By his own account, his family was extraordinary. His parents were the first people to fly from South Africa to Australia in a single-engine airplane. His grandmother was the first chiropractor in Canada. The Musks had an adventurous blood, and Errol had the ambition to match. He trained as an engineer. He served on Pretoria City Council in the 1970s, claiming to be a member of the Progressive Federal Party, which opposed apartheid. He wanted you to know he was one of the good ones. And then there's the Emerald Mine story, which Errol tells with the casual confidence of a man who has never once questioned whether his luck was connected to his skin color.
Emerald mines in Zambia, and you know, mining conditions in southern Africa in that period were really pretty dire in the 1960s and 70s. Very high death rate, very poor conditions, but the owners got very rich.
He and a co-pilot were flying a plane from South Africa to England when a refueling stop fell through. They ended up in Djibouti and sold the plane to Italian nationals for a cash payout of 80,000 British pounds, and on the spot, Errol bought half an emerald mine in Zambia. "We were very wealthy," he told the Business Insider. "We had so much money at times we couldn't even close our safe. One person would hold the money down while a second would slam the door shut." He built a business empire. He raised children who went on to change the world. On paper, Errol Musk is that classic self-made patriarch, but pull back the curtain and something else entirely comes into view. The first myth Errol built was about his son. Elon Musk spent years crafting a bootstrap origin story. The scrappy immigrant who arrived in Canada with almost nothing, worked his way through college and built a trillion-dollar empire from sheer force of will. It was inspiring. It was also, in significant part, a fabrication. Biographer Ashley Vance reported that Errol invested $28,000 into Elon and Kimball's first company, Zip2. Errol himself claimed to have funded his son's early ventures. Elon has denied this, insisting he paid his own way through scholarships and loans. Somebody is lying, and given that the broad myth of Elon's rags to riches story has since collapsed under the weight of emerald mine anecdotes and private school tuition fees, the smart money is not on the story that makes Elon looks good, but the deeper myth Errol built was about himself.
Lived what can only be described as a neo-colonial life. If you were white South African in that period and you had any money at all, you lived with servants at your beck and call, you lived in sprawling housing, and what you see with Errol Musk is that when we get a glimpse into just how much money he had when he and Elon's mother get divorced, she says at the time that, well, he owns a yacht, he owns a jet, he owns several houses, so there was considerable wealth there.
He has repeatedly claimed to have opposed apartheid. In his interview with the Pretoria City Council's records and in various media appearances, he positions himself as one of the enlightened white South Africans who saw the injustice for what it was. Then journalist Dili Hussein spent a full day with Errol Musk at his home in the Western Cape and wrote about what he found. Errol, he reported, is firmly of the belief that non-white people, particularly black people, are incapable of building a functioning society or civilization. When challenged with examples, Errol called them historical exceptions. He repeatedly asserted that the more white people there are in a country, the more likely that society will be high trust, developed, and functional. He cited Rhodesia and apartheid South Africa as white success stories. He contextualized, rationalized, and ultimately justified apartheid while claiming to have opposed it. And then there was his CNN interview, which he initially tried to claim was a deep fake before the outlet showed him the footage. When asked whether the United States would be doomed if white Americans became a minority, Errol said, "Of course." When the interviewer raised the oppression of black South Africans under apartheid, Errol responded, "We gave them work, we fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a massive group. That's not oppression, that's feeding them." This is not a man who opposed apartheid. This is a man who spent decades perfecting the language to defend it.
The big concern at the moment, and why I think South Africa is a big talking point in the US right now, is America in the next 20 years will become, for the first time in its history, a minority white country.
Well, that will be a very, very bad thing to happen. You want to see the US go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars and electric cars, and you don't like technology, or what is it? You want to go back to the jungle?
Elon Musk is not just a racist old man living alone in the Western Cape. He's an ideological blueprint. Consider what journalist Dili Hussein noted. Errol's former father-in-law, May Musk's father, was a card-carrying Canadian Nazi.
Well, he was certainly on the record in his support for apartheid. Very vividly so, yes. And he said that that's why he'd moved to South Africa from Canada in 1940, was in support of it. Now, the grandfather himself is killed a few years later in a plane crash.
The Musk family were major beneficiaries of apartheid, and yet Elon Musk has spent years positioning himself as a maverick, a disruptor, a man of the future. But the politics have never been hidden if you knew where to look. Elon amplified the word genocide conspiracy theory on X, his own platform, calling Julius Malema's rhetoric a call for genocide for the 4 million white people who live there. No mainstream South African political party, including the Democratic Alliance, supports this framing. A South African judge dismissed it as entirely fabricated, and yet it continues. On a platform that reaches hundreds of millions, controlled by a man whose father told a CNN journalist that America would be doomed if white people became a minority. Then there are the bodies. Errol Musk told the IOL without apparent remorse that in the 1990s he shot and killed 3 men during what he described as a farm attack. "I did the killing," he said. IOL could not independently confirm the details. Errol has also faced a New York Times investigation in September 2025 that accused him of sexually abusing 5 of his children and stepchildren across South Africa and California. Abuse that allegedly began in 1993 and triggered 3 separate police investigations. Errol denied everything, claiming the accusations were fabricated by family members seeking money from Elon. And then there are children he had with his own stepdaughter, who was 4 years old when he married her mother. He has explained this as, "We were lonely, lost people, one thing led to another." He has also said, "The only thing we are on earth for is to reproduce." His ex-wife May told Harper's Bazaar that everyone who knew Errol during their marriage called him the pig because of how he treated her in public. She described violence, financial control, and years of being told she was stupid, ugly, and boring. And Elon himself told Rolling Stone that his father has committed almost every crime you could possibly think of, and that he is evil. He said he had tried everything to change his father, including threats, rewards, and intellectual arguments, and nothing worked. This is the man who raised the world's richest person. This is the soil Elon Musk grew out of. Here is what makes Errol Musk worth understanding in 2026, beyond the racism, beyond the lawsuits, beyond the estranged family, and the messy personal history. As of June 2026, Errol Musk attended the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, giving interviews to Sputnik Africa from the sidelines, praising Russia as a first world country where nobody commits crime and advising Russians to ignore Western sanctions because Europe is simply jealous of Russia. Earlier in 2026, he was in Moscow advocating for the resettlement of white South African farmers in Russia, a plan that mirrors the Trump administration's controversial program that has already relocated nearly 5,000 Afrikaners to the United States as refugees. A 79-year-old South African millionaire, the father of the world's richest man, is sitting in St. Petersburg praising authoritarian governance, promoting ethnic relocation schemes, and calling the European Union fake. And his son, who controls the communications infrastructure for much of the Western world, has said nothing. The ideology Errol holds that white people are the architects of civilization and that their diminishment is a catastrophe is not fringe. It is the operating worldview of a family that now has more concentrated power than most governments, and it was never hidden. It was just dressed up in a language of innovation, disruption, and bootstrapped genius. Elon Musk is a symptom, but Errol Musk is the disease. And the terrifying part is not that one man holds these views in a house in the Western Cape. The terrifying part is that those views have been laundered through 2 generations into something the world now calls progress.